Hello, and welcome to Fusion Writing, where building character meets creating structure. We are in the month of June, and we are talking about narrative distance and the character trait of gratitude. This is where we dive a little bit more deeply into our subject. So, Victoria, what are you going to tell us today?
Well, as if on cue, the princess is focusing in tight today. She is right on the desk. So we'll shoo her aside. Last time we talked about okay, she stays. She stays. We talked about the external aspects of narrative distance and how do you relay those things to your reader. For this week, I want to talk specifically about something called focalization, which is simply how do you focus your reader in on the things that you're wanting to share? Well, if you're thinking in terms of external cues, that can be anything that's happening in the environment. A simple way to think about that, or to maybe start drafting something out, thinking about it, is to use the five senses. Those are exterior cues that tell us what's happening in a scene or what's being experienced by a character. If a character says, "What is that smell?" everyone is immediately focused in on that sense. So it's an easy kind of shorthand way to direct your reader's attention to where you want it. But if you're looking at the other side of that, which is what's happening internally, well, what does that look like? The cool thing is, it's kind of the same. So when we talk about interiority in terms of distance and how close or far your reader is from the text, what might you relay? Well, first and foremost would be emotion. When Kathleen talks about writing with emotion and using the character traits in order to dial in where a character is, what they're feeling and experiencing, it's like peanut butter and jelly for writing. So think about how is your character experiencing the world, and what does that look like for their interior? Are they logically processing something? They're bringing their analytical mind to it, or are they reacting and processing emotionally? Those are all levers that you can pull and play with as you look at the different ways of relaying that information to the reader. Another simple shortcut is play with your narrator. We talked about this in last month's issue of my newsletter. I talked about the narrator, the author, and the reader, and how you as the writer move between those views to make sure that you're communicating your message to the reader. Well, as you think about rotating between the internal processes and experiences and the external processes and experiences of a character, that's where some of your writer superpowers come in. Because what you're doing is you're honing that muscle of what you're focusing on as you do the writing. So take a step back from a scene, especially if you're experiencing being stuck or you're not sure which path to take, and change the lens that you're using. Look at it through the sense of hearing, or maybe through the sense of smell. Or if something is a very environment experience rich scene, flip it the other direction and look at it emotionally, or look at it with that detective logical brain. These are all tools in your kit now that you can use as a way to get into and underneath a scene so that you can really get it onto the page in the way that you want the reader to experience it, so that they're taking away what you really want them to, and you're moving them through the story how you want them to feel it. So play with the exterior, play with the interior, and pack in those senses in both cases. You never know what you're going to come up with, but I guarantee it will always reveal something new about those characters and scenes. Kathleen?
Oh, thank you for all those wonderful tools. What a great idea. The senses are always valuable, but I hadn't thought about them as being ways of directing your reader's attention. Like you mentioned, smell, immediately the reader's going to look for what smells might be there. And it's I love it. You're so practical, and you give us so many great ways that we can get our story down. Well, what I'm going to be trying to do today is talk about gratitude in terms of the level of awareness. And I come into this second week so often and just start spewing out the terms that I use every week without taking any time to review them. Maybe we have people who are brand new here, and these are going to be words that don't mean anything. So I'm going to run through the different positions on the character profile diagram first, so that we can all make sure we're on the same page when we understand these terms. And they're a little bit technical, but they're simple words. So we're going to start with the simplest position on the character profile diagram, which is a circle. And the circle is designed to give you a visual image of how does this character trait impinge on the consciousness of your character. Now, the simplest is just a straight line across the middle. Straight line across the middle. We call this the rudder position, and we call it the rudder position because you can steer the direction of your story with the decision that your character makes. You see how he's turning the wheel, and he's just, that rudder changes, and he veers off one side or the other. When a character trait is in this rudder position, it means your character is aware of the fact that he's got to make a choice about that character trait. He knows he has to make a choice. It's in his mind, and he's maybe pretty close to equally likely to make a choice that's going to move him forward or a choice that's going to set him back. But it's a trigger, it's a turning point for him. He's going to make a conscious choice. Then when we go up above that vertical line, the character is less aware of his ability to make a choice. Well, let's go halfway to the top. When the character is halfway to the top, it's like spokes that go up vertically. And I usually wiggle my hands because I call it the wing position. And what does it mean for it to be in the wing position? It means it's flighty. It's flighty. The character knows that he ought to make a choice, and he teases himself with being able to make a choice, but he can't quite get there. He can't quite make the choice that he knows he needs to make. It's like he wants to grasp for it and he can't quite get it. So the character is aware, but he can't choose the way he'd want to choose. It's out of his reach. We go all the way to the top. Right at the top, I usually signal it this way. That's the pinnacle position. And up there in the pinnacle position, it's just, he doesn't even see it. It's over his head. You can look up at, nope, it's not in sight. He doesn't even know he's got a problem. It's just out of his mind completely. He's going blithely through life, and he's a wrecking ball to everybody else. They know he's got a problem. He doesn't know he has a problem. That's pinnacle position. All right. Let's go the other direction from rudder. You can go down. If you go halfway down, I usually symbolize it like, well, it's hard to symbol it like this, 2 rays going down. That's the anchor position. If you think of an anchor, it's got those little things that can reach down and grab the ground if you're a boat. It keeps the boat from going too far away. When a character trait is in the anchor position, your character pretty much always makes a good choice. He's kind of aware of it, but doesn't have to think too hard. He's pretty much going to make a choice that's going to move him forward, because that's something that's pretty solid for him. Something might rock the anchor, might rip it up. I mean, it could change, but for the most part, he's going to make the right choice. Then if you go all the way to the bottom, I often symbolize it like this, the very bottom of the circle. That's the character trait is in the base position. In the base position, it's part of his being. Of course, he's going to make the choice that moves him forward. That's who he is. That's how he thinks of things. That's normal for him. It take a lot to get that character trait out of the base. So that's how to think about what we mean when we say positions on the character profile diagram. And depending on where the character trait is in the mental awareness of your character will determine where it is on the character profile diagram, and will help you create a believable character, because you will be able to show your reader where this character trait is for your character, so they understand what your character is likely to choose, what's going to motivate him, and what's realistic. So it will give you power to create characters that are very, very realistic. So now, with that bit of review, let's apply this to the character trait of gratitude. Let's start with the character trait of gratitude in the base position, where it's just a part of who the character is. I could mention Victoria as a great example of this. Have you ever watched her so generously give credit for her ideas, thank people for their contributions? If you've ever written to her, she will come back and thank you for commenting. She lives gratitude. So when you have a character with gratitude in the base position, they are well aware that they do not control the world or make the world. They do their own contribution, but so much the character's aware that so much just comes to him that all he can do is be grateful for the good things that arrive. That is gratitude in the base position. Now we're going to look at gratitude in the anchor position. In the anchor position, your character is probably going to feel gratitude, but it might be more likely to be something triggered. He gets something that he didn't expect, and it's like, oh, thank you. It might need a little bit of a reminder. Maybe mommy has to say to a child character, and what do you say? Oh, yes, thank you. It's not that the child wasn't ready to say thank you. Maybe it just slipped his mind a little bit. He has a tendency to be thankful, but might need a little bit of a reminder, might sometimes have a little bit of trouble if it wasn't what he was hoping for. And then that might jiggle it out of the anchor position, but for the most part, your character's going to be grateful. Now let's put it in the rudder position. With gratitude in the rudder position, and let's let it be a character who's had it in the anchor, but this one is really thrown him for a loop, and he's not sure whether he's going to be able to be grateful or not. He did not get what he wanted. He got something that was very much less than what he was hoping for. He wanted the super duper Star Trek Lego series, and he got the Junior Plus. Oh, what can he make with a Junior Plus? And mommy's saying, what do you say to grandma? She got you Junior Plus. I got to be grateful. I'm supposed to be grateful. And he decides, it wasn't the basic. It was the Junior Plus. And I can do a lot more with the Junior Plus than I could with the basic. And grandma got it for me. And she doesn't have a lot of money. Grandma, thank you for getting me my Junior Plus Lego set. It was a struggle, but he did it. Now let's put it up in the wing. Now he's in the wing. This kid didn't get the super duper Star Trek version. They were all out of it. They had to settle for the super duper Star Wars version. Star Trek, not Star Wars. Star Wars is so yesterday. Star Trek is coming back. Oh, I wanted Star Wars, Mommy, and you got me Star Trek. Ring. And then maybe in the middle of this, he said, I should be thankful I did get no, it wasn't Star Wars, it was Star Trek. Now, let's put it up in the pinnacle. Now, the kid got the gift. He opened the Star Wars, and he actually got the Star Trek super duper Lego set. And he looks at it and he says, yes, I've been wanting that one. And he puts it aside and he goes for the next present. What did mom and dad have to go through? They were out of it at 3 stores and they went to the 4th store to get it for him. And he opens it up and, oh yeah, that's nice. He's not even thinking about feeling gratitude. What else did I get? Grandma got me pajamas. I don't need pajamas. This kid has gratitude in the pinnacle position. So you see, the relationship to gratitude for your character is as important as knowing what the character trait itself means. Because now, your characters are going to be a whole lot more believable. If you've demonstrated that your character has gratitude in the pinnacle position and somebody does something nice for them, they're not going to be shocked that your character doesn't acknowledge it. They know that's what he's like. But they're going to say, this could have consequences in the story. Something bad's going to happen because he didn't do the gratitude. We knew he wasn't going to do it, but now this is going to turn out to be pivotal in the story. Shame on him. You see? Also, if your character is going to make a big character arc, and he's going to become grateful. You start by showing that it's not even in his awareness. Now, what are you going to do? You're going to suddenly show him being, I'm so grateful. Oh, thank you. You say that people don't like that. You're going to go plunk. You're going to have to show it making a transition. You're going to show him with no gratitude at all. And then somebody does something for him that's so unexpected, that solves such a difficult problem, and it comes so much out of the blue that he never expected it, that he's like, oh my gosh, I should be grateful. I should almost be grateful. I'm going to call this person up and thank him. And then maybe they don't get around to it. It made a movement. He didn't get it all the way down. And then you gradually show it step by step, making its progress. Then you not only show your character making a story arc that creates a great story because you're so thankful that he got to be a decent human being. Your story took someone who was a jerk, and you opened his eyes so that now he's capable of being a decent human being. But you've also given people an example of how that path can happen. You've given parents examples of how they could guide their children into becoming grateful. And you've given people a chance to say, gratitude, what's gratitude? Oh my gosh, I haven't had any sense of gratitude in my life. You give the whole world a chance to make growth, but you have to know what growth looks like, and you have to know what the character traits look like so that you can portray them accurately and then show the growth. Our world needs this, and you as writers are called to do this. This is part of what you give to the world, what you give back to the world for the gift of writing skill that you have been given. Victoria, what will you add?
Whew, boy, this one was epic. This is so great. Number one, thank you for the review, because we do talk about these different concepts and approaches, and sometimes we forget that there's a lot of new people here. So that's perfect. And then especially to feature the trait of gratitude as the walkthrough for the positions is fantastic because it's so relatable. Like we said in the beginning, everybody understands gratitude is what it means. There's no transition of technical terminology or any ocean to cross there. So I would simply add, as you think through how you're going to position the traits in order to build out a character, and you apply that to how can those things be incorporated in narrative distance, talk about some powerful stuff. Because now not only are you showing different lenses to your reader through which they can view the character and the character's growth, but you're also bringing them along on the journey. And isn't that why we write stories? That's why we read stories, because we want to go on the journey. So certainly play with the traits and play with how you position them and what other traits could knock certain traits out. I mean, once you start cross-pollinating with them, now you've got infinite possibilities for how these things can play out. But then adding in the options for how you put your text together and how close or far away you keep that reader. Guys, I mean, you're getting an entire top-level education here, and all you got to do is show up on YouTube. So, Kathleen, if people wanted to find us, where might they go looking for us?
You can find us on LiLLiPub, lillipub.org. It's where we hang out when we're not here in YouTube land. And you can post your writing if you join LiLLiPub, and join us on Saturdays for our fusion writing groups, where you'll get your writing critiqued by a panel of writers. Can you believe that? This is like writing education, not only here on YouTube land, but personalized guidance in your own writing on LiLLiPub. What, does this cost $80 a month because you're getting specialized training? Nuh-uh. $8 a month. $8 a month. You over there in LiLLiPub. Bye-bye.